Do you want more? More time, more balance, more love, more sex, more money, more real, and less bullshit? This is the Women Wanting More podcast with Dr. Karen Osborne. Real life, real stories, plus real tips to get you more of what you want.
Cool. So we are now live then, Carrie. So welcome everyone who's watching right now and or the recording. I have the privilege of interviewing Carrie today, who's one of the...
There it is, yeah.
There we go. That is the open up into Facebook, it spontaneously does. So yeah, so again, so welcome. And I really, really honor you being here today, Carrie, and having this conversation because as we were saying just before we hit the live button of like, you know, number one, as I've done this is the interview number 4 of the 5 of you that came to Women Wanting More Live 4.0 in November of last year, is to like, again, really champion you, really showcase you. Cause like the work that you women did is incredible, like leading up to it, live event. And for pretty much all of you that have continued on in some aspect with this work, right after you left Victoria last November. So like 3 months ago, almost 3 months ago. Yeah. But to really have you share your experience and your story of it. Because as we were saying again, before we hit the live button of like, women will say to me like, oh, what's this live event thing? And the evolution, like, what is this all about? And what happens? And although, no, there is no, like, here's exactly what's going down. Because as we had said before we started, like, this is life. You don't know what's going to happen in life. And that's a piece of it, is the not knowing part of it. But I think just to find out like why did you decide to do this? What was happening in your life at the time? So let's go back even a little bit further with like, when did you and I first connect? Like, how did you first hear about Women Wanting More?
Yeah, I discovered your podcast probably about a year and a half ago, I think. It was shortly before you started the sisterhood, and that would have been in last February. So it was probably about 4 months or so before that. And I was just in a place in my life where I was kind of just searching for something to help me through some family issues that were going on. And I've always been interested in working on personal development and things like that. And I just felt like I needed to turn to something. I didn't know if it was going to be God. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I needed some help to just get perspective again. And I discovered your podcast, and I honestly have no idea how I even rolled around to it, but I started listening to it quite religiously. And then when you brought up the sisterhood, it took me about a month to, hit yes. I don't, and then it's just been full steam ahead, really. Yeah. It's been one of the best things to be part of that group, actually, in my life. Just somewhere to go if I ever need to talk about something or just, the women are the material as well. And it's great. It's great.
You know that almost every single woman have the same story of how they found the podcast. Just like, seriously, it's like you. It's like, I don't know how I found it. Like, I heard it and there was just something that connected with you, whether it was like the topic or something. I'm like, whatever, right? But it's almost always the same way.
Yeah.
I have no idea. It's crazy, right? So like what, and I appreciate you sharing all this, because thank you so much. What then, because here's the thing, and there's 2 pieces of this, right? There's a conversation I really love to have, which is kind of more of a like, what made you say, I want to go, right? For 2 reasons. One, I'm just curious at times, right? And I think maybe for some other people, it's kind of also too of like, they might be in a place where, I don't know, I want to like, I'm into personal development. And then there's like, I'm going to invest my time, my dollars with my family, like my husband, my kids, work, and like go down this thing of like, I don't know what the hell we're doing. Like, that's a whole other realm to go like, I'm going to listen to this podcast. I'm going to check out this book. Or I'm going to buy this online course for $97, right? Like, that's a whole other level. And so, and I know that, again, these things take time. Like you said, it's like, I heard you say the sisterhood and it took me like a month, like almost like rolling eyes at yourself. That's most people, Carrie.
I know.
And here's the other thing too. I was talking with my coach today, and to be completely honest, sometimes like frustration of, I don't stay there very long, but just kind of like, what is it that I can say? how long do we need to hear the message? What will allow them the permission for them to give themselves to go, I'm worth it enough to either like invest my time, invest my dollars, invest my energy, or one of those, or both, or all three, to say like, I am worthy of this right now. Right. It's kind of like trying to figure out that piece. And so that's at least my selfish reason for asking the question of like, what was it? But like, what was it for you to go like, okay, sisterhood, to say like, this is now the next thing. Like I'm going to hit that apply button and kind of go. Mm-hmm. So what was that experience for you outside of, again, like I'm in personal development? Because I mean, it obviously was a little bit more than that. So how would you describe that?
So we were, I was going through a lot with my family, and I was going through some other hard times in my marriage. And I think that, like some women, like you say, how hard it is to push that button is you don't think that it's worth it. You don't think you're worth it. You don't know, the hesitation came from like, well, what am I getting into? And what am I going to tell people that I'm doing? And, and I think where I first went to is like, when I first started listening to your podcast, I said I was kind of going through some family issues, and they just kind of snowballed. And I found myself, when it came up to the point, I think it was last May, my husband had a huge accident and almost died in emergency. And I was no longer treading water. I was underwater. I was trying to be everything to everybody. And that was like, just pushed me right under. And I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know how to, step forward. I didn't know what to do. And I think shortly after that, you actually offered a 30-day mastermind last summer. Mm-hmm. And so I went into that. I was like, okay, well, here's the next step. I don't know if I can do a live event. She says she doesn't even know if she's doing another live event. So this is the next step. Mm-hmm. And I saw what could be possible as I worked through that. And I remember you hinting that there might be another live event. And I'm sure that it was a completely like out of body experience. I just hit apply. Mm-hmm. I didn't even think about it. I just knew that's what I had to do, because if I stayed where I was going to be miserable, probably divorced, probably alone. It was crisis time.
Mm. And like, so this story, and thank you for sharing that too, Carrie, is like a lot of women that come to my live events, they're at that place, right? Where like you said, it's like now, like I'm already below water right now. It's not even just like barely, but like I'm fucking drowning right now and I need to do something, right? And so I get that sometimes if we're in that real depth, that's like, we got to do something big. Right? Yeah. Like, we got to do something big to propel out of there. Do you think sometimes, and maybe this is your experience, not your experience, but the holdback at times, do you think it comes from a thing of like, I don't really know if I'm worthy? And, or is it also like, okay, well, who's gonna move the kids? Or like, who's going to be like, I'm kind of doing all this stuff, and not from a place of like ego, but really kind of like, because let's just be honest, for most of us, whether or not we work or don't work, a lot of us are still very much the one that's like caring for the kids or kind of coordinating all the chess pieces of like marriage, children, business, all of this, right? Of kind of like I know for me, that was my feeling for the longest time of like, well, if I do this thing, well, then who's going to take care of everybody else? Mm-hmm. And it there was definitely some like worthiness, am I deserving thing kind of like tied into that. But it was a hard thing. And it's like, I forget that sometimes, right? So I forget that when someone will say to me, they're like, who's going to watch the kids? I'm like, dude, you'll figure it out. And I'm like, wait a second. I forget that. Like, I felt that way a couple of years ago. I was going out to a live event. I'm like, oh my God, how can I do this? And the kids and Ed's like, go, like, just go. It's good, honey. But and all this kind of like mom guilt stuff. So how did that play for you? Like,
Yeah.
what was it? I hear what you're saying. You're just like,
I
I
had,
just do this, but what allowed you to
yeah.
maybe have some similar feelings and just say, I'm just going to move past it anyways. I'm just going to do this, even though maybe those things were playing in the background, if that was a similar tape for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, that was part of my, if you want, that's part of my story, is that I have to be everything and look after everybody. And so, I think that's probably the one and only time that wasn't the first thing on my mind. Now, having said that, it took me a really long time and, a few weeks to tell my husband that I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm. So what did you think? Let's kind of break this down.
Yeah.
So what were the thoughts that you had about what would happen if or what will happen when I tell him?
I knew he would be supportive. I just had this I needed to have everything in a row so that I could present a package. I think, I think it's going to be okay. I think I can probably get the time off work. This is, and just kind of present it as a package when, and I overanalyze and I overthink. And really the conversation was, you know what, I need help and I think I'm going to go to this. And he was like, go. If you need to do this, you go. And I think we work ourselves up with our stories that they're not going to be there and not going to be supportive. And the jump is so much harder than the actual conversation.
Those whole thoughts, right? All the stuff that we think is like real. And it's like, yeah, I had this conversation with Amber yesterday too, with her interview. And it was like, kind of similar thing of kind of like, well, I don't know if my husband, and she said he was actually incredibly supportive. And so I know with some other women too, that sometimes, I mean, again, because I felt the same way too. I'm like, but you won't be able to, and the kids and the stuff. And it's like, we're good.
Yeah.
Like, we appreciate you. I know it's going to be hard with you not being here, but like, please go. Right. Yeah. I think it's this giving ourselves permission, care for ourselves as women, right? As opposed to let me do everything because that's what we're supposed to do. And, or we get something from that. I know for me, I felt very kind of like, I'm doing all this stuff. Just, like you guys can't possibly do it without me. Like there was certainly that little tweak of like, I got something from oh my God, you're doing all this stuff, Karen, look how great you're. I'm like, I know I'm good, but like, awesome.
Most definitely.
That kind of, like that little kind of ego thing of like, well, if I detach from that, so then they don't really need me. Yeah. Like they can run this shit by themselves and, things won't fall apart. Like, but you need me, right? You need me.
I was like, I think I'm okay with everything falling apart. That was something I had to be comfortable with. I'm like, maybe they're going to eat McDonald's every day. I don't know, but this had to be something I was comfortable with. Yeah. Yeah. I know they need me. Yeah.
Do you think, was it a little bit more to like the big picture of like, okay, so what if they eat McDonald's every day? Like whatever, it's not going to kill them for 4 or 5 days, whatever. Right. Or like, let's say if shit did hit the fan, but yet you come back different, right? Like you come back into the situation, being able to maybe come into the gong show with a newer energy, with a newer understanding, with a newer clarity, right? Of what you truly want. So let's kind of fast forward now. So we talked about like the decision up to, what was it like for you when you first got there? So a lot of them have described it like the elevator doors opened because we had this really cool space, which is like a whole floor, right?
Yes.
So like you only the elevator opens right into the room. And so you guys came in, was like the elevator open. And so what was it like when the elevator opened for you?
Well, it was, the instructions were very specific. Don't be early and don't be late. So I probably rode the elevator for like 5 minutes. Up and down, up and down. I'm like, no, I got to be right on time. But yeah, when I was doing really well. Stepping back a little bit, getting on the plane and going and coming to Victoria, I did really, really well. And then when I landed in Victoria, I was like, what am I doing here? What? And I got a text from my husband. It just said, be strong. So when I got to the hotel and walked in and those elevator doors opened, I was like, holy, and you're like, put your phone over here. And I was like, yeah, like this is happening. Like this is it. This is it. This is happening. It was, I don't know, it was a very, I just like, okay, like it really was. It was like a release and like, let's do it. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, because it's such a small group, 5 of you and me, like
Yeah.
there's no hiding, there's no shadows, curtains to hide behind, like
No.
right there, man, right?
And I think I don't know if I can speak for all of us, but it wasn't quite real until after we had signed all our forms and we got, we did our little opening video and then we all sat down together. And I think that was a big moment.
What did that feel like for you?
It felt just an instant connection. We had been doing the 2 weeks prior was, and like, as I explained it to my husband, he said, so when you arrive, like you are sisters, because we shared so much in the 2-week pre-work. And so when we got there and we all sat down, it kind of just dropped and the shield just fell.
It was a great moment.
It was.
Yeah. So from that moment, the shield dropping, right? You're like, okay, this is now real.
Yeah.
So we started on Monday night. Now we finished Wednesday night, right?
Yeah.
How were you, like, from the shield dropping moment you just described to the Wednesday night? How were things different for you?
Oh boy. I think when, part of my story of having to be everything for everybody or, in control all the time. And even I noticed that when I watch my video, there's a bit of a fake confidence there. I don't think I knew what I was there for. I really don't. And I think I've heard some of the other girls say that, like, oh, what I went there for sure wasn't what came out. When you do this kind of work and it's like, oh, that's it. I didn't want
the truth comes out, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But so when I think about the transformation that happened, it was just an openness. The shield is down, the real me can come out, and it's okay. It's okay that it's not perfect. It's not in control all the time. It's okay that, I'm willing to let people in now. Yeah, it was a really, that last evening was just like I could breathe. Yeah, that's what it was. It was freedom. It was breathing. It was lightness. It was joy. Things that you always hear. I was thinking back today about before, and I read a lot of Brene Brown, and I remember reading the line that says, we need to lean into joy. And I remember, what the lean into joy? I don't even know how to do that. And now I look back at where I've come, what the journey I've taken. And it's like, lean into joy? Absolutely. That's where I am. That's where I am.
I love that. So so that was sort of the last night, right? And she's saying, like, now you understand what that means, right? Like, truly, not just like it sounds good.
No,
like,
truly.
like, what the fuck does that mean? Lean into joy. It sounds cheesy,
Truly.
right? But like, so 3 months later, right? And you you've continued on this work in our group training, which we're doing, and your 90-day outcomes. And so where are you today with all this? When you look back on like where you were when you first like hit that apply button, like you said, the out of body experience, right? To like, Dana, I'm like all the pre-training, right? Come in, you said like the shield came down. You feel like, like these are like your sisters, right? To that last night. Where is that for you now from the very beginning to who Carrie is today? The mom, the wife, businesswoman. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know who that woman is or was. I can't even put my mind into that mindset anymore. And I think that I continued on with the 90 days after because I saw where I was going and I knew I needed the extra support. I knew that there was still more to go. And I didn't know if I was going, I still didn't know if I was going to be able to do it on my own. And I knew that if I was going to go any further, I needed more, really. I just needed more coaching. So the person that's come out of this at the end, like, I am a much better wife and mother. There's a calmness. There's a presence now. I'm not thinking about what's the next step, what's the next thing that I have to do. I've committed to doing a lot of things with my family and with my children that I've missed out on a lot. And I've been with my kids, but I haven't seen my kids. Mm-hmm. And now I have time with them every week. And even every day when they come home, there's just a real presence with them. And their walls are coming down. And in my marriage, the walls have come down. And it's just more honest communication. So, and then stepping out even further, what do I want to do now with, where am I going? I'm like, I want to go back to school. So I'm going back to school, just to do things I love to do. Find those things that I love to do that I just never did. So now I'm doing that. And it's been fabulous. It's been great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's, the biggest shift that I see for you, Carrie, and this is the word that's come out, which is going to sound kind of funny, but I'm going to say it anyways, but it's like there's a softness.
Yeah.
It's not lesser of who you are. The edge is still there, and that's a part of who you are. I get it. I got a similar edge, and you don't want that to be dulled. But it is, it's softer. It's lighter. Mm-hmm. It's lighter, yeah. Right? A woman who's still powerful as a mom, as a wife, as a businesswoman, all these new things that you want to be doing in your body. But there's not a like a tightness, like an urgency, like it's got to happen now or it's got to happen this way kind of thing. And this is a piece too that I love that you just touched on. I want to just talk about this really briefly as we finish up, is like the whole thing of time, right? Mm-hmm. I get this from women all the time. I don't have time to do this stuff. I don't have time. I'm busy, right? I'm busy. We've all been there before and kind of like had that as our mantra. But what you just shared about being just really present, right? Time could literally be bent or like stand still at times when it's like you can have this whole chunk of time with your kids, but you're not really there, right? Yeah. There was whole time that you spend with your husband, but you're not really connecting with each other. We've all had that experience too. Yeah. Whereas when you really learn how to be present, which comes in knowing who you are, which comes in getting clear on the things that you really want, those are those little like gems of moments that don't even have to actually be a long time. Mm-hmm. But yet it's because you choose to be present. It's because of all the things that you've done that you bring that in, and it completely shifts your relationships. Yeah. Right. With your children, as you're saying, with your husband. It's not about having this big chunk of time. Because I can tell you right now, there's some women that are watching stuff. They're like, oh, that's great. Easy for her. She just must have all this. I don't have the time. And it's like, you know, there could be some reality to maybe what that person is thinking. However, it's not about the length of time. It's who you are in those moments. It's who you are in your time. It could literally be a 30-second interaction that feels just like 30 minutes because you were just so there with your kids or with your husband or with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Coming back to the whole full circle conversation of like being worthy and investing in you and taking care of you and all of this. So
Yeah,
I love that, Carrie. I love that.
Definitely.
I feel like there's something else we have to say, but I don't know what that is. Do you have anything else you want to add? I mean, again, this wasn't, as I told you at the beginning, this isn't like a, hey, you should come out to the next live event because like, yes, I have 2 more seats. And yes, I'm going to drop the link in the comments. And yes, if you're a female watching, right, you're like, man, I see something in me and Carrie, I feel called to this, like, listen to that shit. Because this was, again, what propelled me. Like, it was just, again, that same kind of thing. Like, I just know I have to be there. I don't know what it's going to cost. I didn't know when I was applying for something like this, like where it was going to be. I didn't know if it was going to be accepted. I just simply was going on gut feeling and voice of like, I need to be there and I'll figure that shit out. And it scares the hell out of me. And I just know I need to do it. And so for sure, women that are watching this are like, I'm feeling that same kind of stuff. Yeah. Click on the fucking button. I'm going to put as soon as we finish like recording, right? But is there anything else that you want to add to this conversation, Carrie?
I would say that, you know, this wasn't, you know, the live event was probably one of the most life-changing experiences that I've gone through. But I think a lot of it has to do with, you know, it was my openness to be there, but it was also what I didn't expect was, and I want to bring it back to that forgiveness piece. And that's something that I really, I was really thinking about as we started these interviews, is the forgiveness. You know, I carried a lot of guilt because I couldn't be there for everybody. And I think there's a lot of moms that are like feeling that too, you know, like you want to be there for your parents and for your children and your husband and your job and yourself. And when it falls, you just feel so guilty that you just can't be there for everybody, or you didn't, you know, you can't see the positive anymore. And I didn't realize how much guilt and shame I was carrying. Mm. So when I released all that, that was really the biggest moment when I could finally let myself out and accept happiness and joy. Because I thought I had it all figured out. I thought that, well, I've forgiven these people and I've forgiven that person and I've stepped past this and I've stepped past that. And that's what I didn't know that I was going there for. I really thought I was going there just to figure out how to find myself and find who I wanted to be. And I had no idea that that was going to be the biggest moment. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the guilt, the feeling pulled in all directions, right? Yeah. I knew there was something else we needed to talk about. This was beautiful. Beautiful, because that is such the experience of so many women. Carrie, I felt that for so many fucking years. And yeah, it took some time. And yes, it took the like being okay with things that happened before and just like deciding I'm going to choose different from now on. And guilt is a choice and shame is a choice, just like joy is a choice.
Yeah.
Right. And it can be done in ways that you really understand this. And it's not just said as something that sounds like cool. Like you said before, lean into joy, like, what's that mean? Right. Like you truly understand what that means.
Yeah.
And that the guilt doesn't serve you. It doesn't allow you to show up the way you want to. And it's up to you to really learn how to let those things go. And an experience like this, you're going to get there fast. It took me.
Yeah. Yeah, it really did when you did those 2 live trainings in the Women Wanting More experience group. It really did break my heart. Because I've been there. But I found when I did those 2 trainings, and I think Christina might have said the same thing, it was I was proud of how I could get through those 2 trainings. Like I loved and forgiven myself. And it was great. It was great to do it again. And now I'm doing the 7 days. I mean, like you forget those little tools sometimes and to bring it back. And yeah, because just because you've forgiven yourself for something, I mean, new things are popping up. This is a continual process. You never get there. You know, you're going to have life experiences will keep coming that you have to keep dealing with. But yeah, it just broke my heart to see those comments.
Well, this is a testament, I think, though, too, of you saying of just you saw it and experienced that differently because of the work you've done. Again, this is a testament to like you doing the work, you being honest, you showing up, you investing you saying like, I'm worth it to do this. And I'm going to do this thing that I feel like I'm called to do right now.
Yeah.
And so you're right. There's always next levels.
Yes.
There's always like, oh shit, here's like a new layer of me I didn't uncover. Like, oh, what's this doing here? And oh, what's this? Right. I mean, there's always that.
Yeah.
But the thing is when you've built the foundation like you have and the 4 other amazing women that were there of like, then those things happen and you're going to see your ability to move forward, your ability to recover and adapt, your ability to like really see things and not spin around the stories and go through all that place and then back to the guilt and all of that is really, really different. Right? You have now gained some of those skills and those experiences and the shedding of that stuff by going through that intensive experience so that when the next layers come in, the next like thing, the next life experience hits, it's kind of like how I used to describe when I was in the office as a chiropractor, Carrie, when, you know, I had patients that would have like huge health crisis. They have a heart attack, they have a stroke. And a lot of the recovery time, the doctors and surgeons would be like scratching their head going, I don't know what you're doing, but nobody heals that fast. And they would share that with me. And I'd go, well, why do you think that is? And I go, well, because I've been investing in my health for years. I've been coming here, I ate well. I go, that's exactly it. So it's the same thing. You know, it's like you, the 5 of you investing in yourself. Then when those things come up and life still hits you with curveballs and things that you don't know and pieces of you that you can't see, you are able to move through and see what you're supposed to see, the lesson and get those gifts and then move forward to become better and better and more of you, you know, so that's exactly it. So
yeah.
Thank you so much, Carrie. I really appreciate your time and love you so much, sister. This is, really, really valuable conversation. I know a lot of women are going to really connect, especially with talking about the piece of guilt and how to really find joy. So thank you. I appreciate you so much. And for those that are either watching this right now, the recording, this is also going to be a podcast episode. So listening to this, you can go to drkarenosborn.com/theevolution. That'll be in the show notes on the podcast. I'm going to put this into the comments and you can apply. And there's just a couple seats are left for this upcoming live experience. And I would love to see you there. So thank you again, Carrie.
Thank you.
Have a blessed your day. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
To get the show notes of each Women Wanting More episode, including the How to Get More tip, subscribe to the newsletter at drkarenosborn.com/newsletter.